welcome to Tuesday in the Word.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
As everybody is joining us, so we can get started right at 7. We are in Mark chapter 5. Again, welcome to Tuesday in the Word, everyone in person as well as those of you who are joining us online via YouTube Live. Welcome, 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 everybody. We are in Mark chapter 5. Mark chapter 5. Everybody have their dinner, feeling good. Right. So do we have it? Are we where we supposed to be at? Or do we have the Mark chapter 5?
Yep.
All right. As everybody is getting online again, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Tuesday in the Word with Liberty Hill Baptist Church, where we have Bible study every Tuesday here at the Columbus Branch Hilltop Library at 7 p.m. And we worship every Sunday at 10:30 a.m., 3392 Scottwood Road, inside of Scottwood Elementary Gymnasium. So if you don't have a church home, or if you're in need of a church home, or you're searching for a church home, you are invited. Actually, there's a seat waiting for you. And so let's get this started. Dear God, we thank you once again for this opportunity to come into your presence to study your word. It is my prayer that you open every ear to hear, every heart to receive all that it is that you would have for us to receive. And I'll be so careful to give you all the honor, glory, and praise because I recognize that it all belongs to you. And so, God, I ask, as we ask every Tuesday and Sunday, and that is to exceed our expectation in this time of sharing. And Lord, I petition you to empower me in order to make preaching and teaching easy and anoint me afresh. And so, as your servants are gathered here today, we say together, Speak, Lord, for your servants are listening. All right. Servants are lit. Can I please get my fan, please? Get in there. It's pretty warm in here. For those of you who are just now joining us, we are going to be in Mark chapter 5. Mark chapter 5. Mark chapter 5. All right, we have been in a series called Trusting God, right? And on Sunday, we we drew some wisdom from the narrative in the book of Mark, chapter 5, where we looked at a man by the father, because I wanted to make sure that we talked about a father on Father's Day, and just so happened we had a father that had to trust Jesus, had to trust God. So that way we could stay in our series and I didn't have to pivot like I did for Mother's Day. And so a man by the name of Jairus, who is a ruler in this one of the rulers in the synagogue, had a situation where he needed to trust God. His daughter was sick. Well, actually, his daughter was dying. So if we look at chapter 5, beginning, I want to say beginning at verse 21 is where this narrative picks up. And so what we see in verse 21, according to Mark chapter 21, we see that Jesus had crossed over after he had done some ministry across the lake. When he had crossed on the other side of the lake, as he's getting out of the boat, a crowd gathers around him, and gathers around him while he was by the sea. And so then when we see in verse 22, then it says, one of the synagogue leaders named Jairus came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet and begged him earnestly, my little daughter is dying. Come and lay your hands on her so she can get well and live. And so we see here in that instance, we see here that he meets Jesus as Jesus is getting off of out after he got off the boat and he was by the sea. He used that as an opportunity. He took an opportunity to approach Jesus and ask Jesus to come to lay his hands on his daughter in order for her to get a healing. Because he states in that as he approached him, he says, his daughter is dying. And as we talked about this on Sunday, we talked about trusting God through a dying need, or for many of us, a dire need. And a dire need means that when you have a dire need, that means you have a urgent emergency, something that cannot wait, right? Something that needs quick attention. It needs right now attention, right? And so we talked about, again, we've been in this series now. This is is this 3? Yeah, week 3, where we're learning to trust God. And in order to learn to trust God, thank God we have so many examples in the Word of God, where we see where we're going to see as we go on with this series, you're going to see people who got it right, that they can show us that they trusted God, and we can look and learn from their story can provide us wisdom on how we too can trust God. But then there's going to be times, and I'm thinking next week we may see somebody that struggled. We might see where they started out good and then they kind of lost their faith along the way. But here tonight, we see here, we will see with Jairus, we will see how initially he's trusting God right at the start. Because if you go to Jesus and you're telling him that you want him to come and you're asking him to come and heal your dying daughter, there's something that you have known about Jesus, perhaps his reputation, which is allowing you to trust that he has the power and he's capable of doing it. So we see here that Jairus out the gate is trusting Jesus. Mhm. He's trusting him, and he's basically telling him, all, I trust you so much. I know all you got to do is come with me and just laying your hands on her, she will get well. Questions? We good? Uh-oh, I'm having some echo. All right. And so we see here that he says, well, number one, he is a leader in the synagogue. And so he's in leadership, and he came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. And as we talked briefly on that Sunday, we see that when he fell at his feet, that's a posture that he takes in prayer. Because really what he's doing is he's demonstrating a way. It is not the only way to pray, but he's demonstrating the act of prayer. We don't have Jesus in the flesh like they had Jesus in the flesh. But if you really think about this, if someone is like Jairus, he's going to Jesus and he's asking him, he's inviting him into his situation with his daughter. That clearly is prayer. Because isn't that what prayer is? Communicating what we need to God. And so that's what we see here with Jairus. We see him communicating, we see him praying to directly to Jesus for his need. And so he takes the posture of falling to his knees, which indicates humility, because he's a person of in an authoritative role. But because he's in a dire need, because he has a dire need, he was willing to set that to the side, and he humbled himself to ask God to ask God to heal his daughter. But not only that, we see, and we talked about this on Sunday, this posture also shares with us how desperate he was. You ever, because sometimes when you fall on your knees, that's a sign of begging, pleading, right? For some of us, we know what that feels like when you done pleaded with somebody not to leave you. Behind closed doors, we might do some things behind closed doors. Please don't go, please don't go. And you know what reminds me of? Remember how many of us was fans of Medea's? I think it was the Diary of a Mad Black Woman. And remember when he was leaving her for the other woman? And remember, she was basically pleading and begging with him to stay. But she was on her what? She was on her what? She was on her knees. She was trying to keep him from going out the door, right? Well, if y'all ain't going, y'all gonna be just in here. I'll talk to the people that's online. And so we see here he takes a posture in prayer, and that posture is humility, meaning that, and also it's showing that he's giving reverence to Jesus. He understands that Jesus has the power. Jesus is able, he's capable in getting the job done. Getting the job done. And so, any questions so far? Hey guys. Hey Shaquela. Hey Kathy. Hey Lenore. Oh, that's Nora. Lisa and all and everyone. And so he's begging. Well, matter of fact, it says in 23, and begged him earnestly. Begged him earnestly. Actually, can I get you to read verse 23?
He pleaded earnestly with him, "My little daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her so that she will be healed and live."
Mm-hmm. So not only is he on his knees, but the text says he pleaded and begged. Again, that's pointing to a dire need. And there's going to be times in our lives where we're going to trust God for things. We'll trust God for a car. We trust God, to get a job. But there's going to be times where we're going to have to trust God in a dire need to where we, like Jairus, we're going to be pleading with God. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so let's talk about some circumstances that are dire. Anybody want to? You say sickness? Okay. And with his daughter, she's dead. She's dying. It didn't say she had, she was just real sick. It says she's dying, meaning that for him to come to Jesus, that means that perhaps if they did have doctors involved, they're basically saying that's all we can do. There's not, oh, you know, the famous words we sometimes hear in hospitals when we're dealing with loved ones. What do they say? That there's nothing else we can do. There's nothing else we can do. And then you're given the news, they're dying. And so that's with, in that instance, what are some other things that can be considered dire?
Or eviction.
Facing eviction. Yeah,
Oh, well.
eviction.
Notice. Yeah. Oh.
What that lady say on that song, Jesus will work it out. But she talks about how even in the situation where they put them that letter on your door, that big old what she called a big old red letter. Everybody know what them big red letters mean. That means you gotta go. So we can see that that's a dire situation. And again, we're talking about trusting God through a dire situation. So you may be facing eviction. And in this climate, it used to be you might get evicted this week and then you might can bounce back the following week or go crash at your family's house and then get you another place. But in this economy, in this United States, people holding on to these places to live because rent, baby, rent is crazy now.
Oh, yeah.
People are paying what we used to consider a house note for rent. And even if you're not facing any of it, can you imagine being the person who every time you're getting paid, you're hoping your check is going to be enough? Dire situations where we too, like Jairus, need to invite Jesus into that situation. And then some people, you said eviction, that would be if you're renting. I remember I've lost a house before. The very first time I ever built I built the house from ground up, and I ended up losing. That was because of some of the things that I done wrong, living above my means, and I had stopped paying my tithes. And you know, sometimes you doing what you're supposed to be doing as a Christian, but then as soon as God start blessing you with things, you tend to put God on the back burner, and you can't tend to do things how you want to do it. But I ended up losing that. But I went through a dire situation, and it wasn't eviction. It was called foreclosure. Foreclosure. And so, yeah, there's times where it's with our living arrangements. What else? Because that can cause a lot of anxiety and worry trying to figure out when you don't have housing security. And in this climate, there's this thing called food security, insecurity. Because not too long ago, remember, they had shut down the SNAP benefits or the food stamps. Remember in the month, was it November? They didn't, or was it October? One of the months where the government did not issue any food stamps for at least a month. Dire. Can you imagine being dependent on something and then all of a sudden out of nowhere it's snatched from you? What are some other things? The loss of a what am I looking?
Lisa will have to come.
Lisa's what? Oh, that's right, Lisa. She's saying facing jail time.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep.
Dire
Yeah.
situation.
David said job loss.
David said job lost.
What? Loss of a job.
Yeah. I can go, and I've been working for my company for 28 years. I could show up tomorrow and they can say,
We've seen that happen.
they're phasing this whole area out. And we've seen it. Usually, normally they phase out, they let go people that's only been there maybe a year or two. No, sometimes they hitting them vets. And now I'm at that age where I'm what they call a vet in the company. To the point to where nowadays they were talking about your retirement, thank God that I still fall under what they call the grandfather. I was grandfathered in. They didn't even they have taken that away. Yeah. Yeah. Diet. So all these many things that we have to learn to trust God in it. And so we see here that Jairus, he is facing a dire situation. His child, his daughter. Can you imagine, parents, getting that news that your child is dying? Because remember, we all think that we're supposed to outlive our kids.
Mm-hmm.
But he's saying, my daughter is dying, not my daughter is sick. It wasn't like Mary and Martha with Lazarus talking about, Jesus come, my brother is sick. This is how. So when we think about dying, we think that's it. It's just a matter of time for this is done. And when the doctor says that's all we can do, normally in our minds, yes, we tend to, oh, God has the final say. But if we real honest, there's some trepidation that we feel behind those words. Hmm? Questions? Question. That's right, Nora. Our kids are supposed to outlive us. And so yeah. So he's facing what looks like an impossible situation. And I don't know what's worse for somebody to just go up out, just go ahead and die, or sitting and wondering when is it going, if they're gonna make it through or not. To me, that seems torturous. I don't know what y'all think. What do y'all feel?
I'm not understanding what you're saying.
You know how you either when you got something, you know how they say go ahead and just rip the band-aid off. That means do it real quick, because the longer you prolong, you know what I'm saying, the harder it is. Meaning that is it worse to sit and watch them die? Or is it better for it just to happen like that?
I just don't know.
I don't know neither.
I,
Because the reason why I'm saying neither situation is a good situation. It's all horrible. But when you have to sit and slowly watch death come.
well,
You know what I mean? Like sitting, like if you were in the hospital room and the doctor said, this is all we can do for your child. They're dying. So every day you're sitting in the hospital, you don't know if that second they're going to take their last breath that day. You don't know if I go to the bathroom, will I come back and I miss? It's like, when I say it's kind of like torturing me.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's dealing with this dire need. And so he begs Jesus to come and lay his hands on her and she will live. He has enough confidence. He has enough faith. He trusts God so much so that he trusts him, that he is saying, please come with me, because you are the one. You are the solution for my problem. And the reason I said trusting God through his dire need, because I wanted to call it trusting God with a dire need, because when we think about trusting God with, it's almost like I say, here, God, dear God, and then you don't have anything else to do with it. Because he didn't say, you go and do it, and I'll just chill right here. No, they begin to walk together in the direction of his problem. He's headed there. She's not healed, but Jesus is on the way. The answer, the solution. Oh, here we go. The answer, the solution is on the way. It's headed in the right direction. Yeah, Jesus could have done like he did with the mother who had the daughter that was severely vexed with the demon. Remember, He didn't have to go to her house. She was healed at the point of the woman's faith when he says your faith has made her whole, right? So Jesus can, and then there was one instance where a father said, all you got to do is send the word, and I know my son is going to be healed. But here he's walking through this situation with Jesus, meaning that there is a process to this. He didn't heal her instantly at his word. He walked with Jairus in the direction of this dire need. Are y'all with me? He didn't just send Jesus. He's doing it he's going through the process. And sometimes the answer coming, the answer on the way, the solution on the way, don't feel like the solution is coming. There's people at the house with the dying daughter that have no clue that a solution is on the way. Are y'all with me? Have no clue. But guess what? Just because they don't have no clue, just because they don't sense that it's coming, doesn't mean that it's not. And sometimes we can be in a situation where we're trying to trust God and it don't seem like nothing is happening. It don't seem like nothing is coming. Nothing is don't even seem like it's even in sight. But it's on its way. How many times have you started out trusting God, but because it didn't happen instantly, you lost your faith? You lost your faith. And so they're on the way. The answer is on the way. The solution is on the way, unbeknownst to the people at their house and unbeknownst to the daughter who's dying. It's on the way. It's headed in the right direction. So things are moving. Things are moving for Jairus. I got Jesus with me. And so that right there can provide some hope because there's some action, there's some movement. But then something else happens. Remember Sunday what we talked about? There was an interruption by somebody who tried to sneak a blessing. And that was the woman with the issue of blood. The woman with the issue of blood, remember, she wanted a healing. She had been caught up in a cycle for 12 long years. And remember, she had did what she was supposed to do, like normal people do. When we get sick, when we have a problem, you go to the doctor, right? So she was doing things that she was supposed to be doing. She was going to the doctor, but instead of getting better, she was getting worse. So she said she took advantage of the opportunity too. Jairus came straight forward and asked for his blessing. She said, you know what, I'm just going to get behind the crowd. And if I could just touch his hem, I should be made well. But here's the thing. That is too because Jairus had no idea that this woman is doing this. They're headed in the right direction. But this woman, snuck a blessing, but Jesus ain't going to let her get away with sneaking it. And he stops. And I know we like to look at the woman and pay attention like who touched me, but imagine being Jairus. I asked you to come with me. And now you stopping to deal with something else. I got a dire need, Jesus, but you stopping over here. I got a dire need, Jesus. What we doing? Things was moving in the right direction, but all of a sudden it just stopped. Because you want to know who touched you? Yeah, if we was talking about the woman, we would deal on with that. Who touched me? Power has gone out of me, virtue has gone out of me. Forget that. We talking about Jairus tonight. Can you imagine having Jesus with you, moving in the right direction? You need him. You're in a dire situation, but all of a sudden he stops to find out who touched him. Do you not get, Jesus, that I need you? Do you not get, Jesus, that this is a serious situation? Do you not get, Jesus, my mama got cancer? Do you not get, Jesus, I'm getting ready to be evicted? Do you not get it, Jesus? Do you not get it, Jesus? I done lost my job. I'm getting ready to lose my job. Do you not get it? They firing everybody from around here. Do you not get? Why did you stop? And like I said Sunday, she didn't even ask you. That ain't fair. I asked you. I was on my knees. She's sneaking. She's stealing. She's stealing blessing. I did it right. I did it right. I came to the forefront. Everybody around me, they seen me get on my knees. I'm a person of authority. And you agreed to come. But then you gonna stop? Do you not take my situation as serious as I do? Lord, do you even care? Has that ever been your conversation? Has that ever been your conversation? And here's the thing. My situation is way worse than hers. My situation is way worse than hers. She been dealing with that situation for 12 years. She ain't dying. She been caught up in a cycle. Okay, she's bleeding, but she didn't bleed out. My daughter is dying. The math ain't math. And why did you stop over here to deal with that? And matter of fact, why did you stop anyway? Because she was healed when she touched your garment. Why did you have to turn around and say who touched you? Already knew who touched you. You didn't need to do that. But why did you need to interact with her? You could, here we go. You could have came to the house, did what you needed to do for me, and then went back over there. Remember, we talked about when we kicked this series off, we talked about trust in the Lord with all your heart. But then we said, what? Lean not to your own understanding. Because if we're honest, I believe that y'all agree with me. Why did you stop? He could have came back and dealt with that. Why didn't he just go with Jairus, deal with the girl, and then come back? Let's not lean to our understanding because that's how I would understand. And here's the thing: I want us to get to the point to where we no longer lean and rely. There's so many times we're going to understand it, some things correctly, but we should not lean and rely on our own understanding because sometimes our understanding and God's will don't mesh. So anybody want to be honest? That this narrative, does it make sense to you how Jesus moved? Oh, y'all scared? We're not saying it in a disrespectful way like we don't reverence God. We're just really having a real heart to heart. We're being transparent. Well, I'll do it. No, I'm sorry, you had to do that. She said she had to sit and watch a loved one die. It's the hardest thing you ever have to do. Yes, it is. And so again, leaning to my understanding, I didn't understand why he stopped to the point. Not only did he stopped to the point to where the girl died. You can't tell me that makes sense to you. You stopped, which you stopping the girl ended up losing her life for a woman who wasn't dying. Yeah, she was dealing with an issue. She was dealing with some challenges, but she wasn't. That's like going to the emergency room and you running into the emergency room with a child that's not breathing, but then they say, "Put them over there. I'm gonna deal with a little boy that needs stitches in his knee." Okay, now am I bringing it home now? And so we would cut all the way up in the emergency room if we saw that. If you brought your child or your little special Dominique into the emergency room and she's not breathing, and then you see somebody that got a little teensy scrape, and the doctor says, put her over there. I'm gonna deal with these stitches first. Oh, sure, doctor. I'll just me and Dominique will just move back. You gonna cut a food. Mhm. You get in a car accident and somebody that you was riding with is pinned in the car, but then the other car don't got but a small dent, and you sitting on the back of their car talking about how long you been driving, how long you had your license, but somebody's pinned in. It doesn't make sense, right?
Mhm.
But that's why we can't lean to our own understanding. But notice that Jairus, what he doesn't do is he don't be like, yo, what you doing? Like, we ain't got time for this. Come on, come on, come on. We gotta go. We gotta go. He doesn't do any of that. He sits, he stands there. He stands there. Can we continue to endure the process like Jairus does, even when it feels like God has stopped? It doesn't feel like anything is moving towards the positive. Can we, like Jairus, continue to stand there and wait? Because that's what he has to do. He has to wait. What else he gonna do? He still has to wait for Jesus to do what Jesus has to do. And sometimes waiting is hell for us. It feels like hell for us because the clock is ticking. If I don't get the money, Lord, by such and such time, they're going to put me out. Lord, they already didn't tag the door, and then the sheriff is coming tomorrow to put my stuff on the curb. Okay? Time is ticking, and all we got is to wait. He's standing there. Jesus is dealing with a whole nother situation and ain't got nothing to do with Jairus in that situation. And he's just standing there, waiting, not complaining, waiting. Doesn't say he was angry, or you know how we do. We or we like to bring other people in the kitchen. Mm-mm. He's waiting. He's waiting his turn. But then here's the thing: he gets some people from the house came and to deliver the horrible news. And basically, they say, don't even bother Jesus any longer because your daughter, she's dead. She's dead. Hmm? Look at verse 35. As he still was dealing with the woman, as he was still speaking, people came from the synagogue leader's house and said, your daughter is dead. Why bother the teacher anymore? So here these people are coming to say, your situation then went from dire to done. Don't even bother Jesus no more. You might as well hang it up. Don't even ask. Ain't no need to have him. Don't no longer to have him involved in this situation. It's a wrap. We do have people. But see, what if Jairus would have said, "Y'all right, let me just go on about my business. He didn't do what I asked him to do." And okay. Mm-mm. Are we gonna be like Jairus? Are we gonna continue to stand? Here these people is coming saying basically like Don't even involve Jesus no more with this. This situation is done. There's no hope left for you. There's no hope left for your daughter. This situation is a wrap. Many of us will be like, "You right," because at the end of the day, she did die. It looked final. It looked dead. But Jesus, God had another plan. He had a plan. He always had. He had a plan when he stopped and dealt with that woman. He knew how he wanted this to go. Because there's times in our life, yeah, he could have healed her right then and there, but sometimes there's times in our life where Jesus wants to do it on another level. He wants to be on that stage. You know that stage that we talked about when we was talking about the three Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace? Again, sometimes he wants to be on the stage because he wants other people to see all the things that he is capable of doing.
Right.
Yeah, I can heal her, but I want to show you something different. I want to show you that I can do more than heal her. I can actually raise her back up. And so they said, don't even bother him. I wonder how many times have we thrown in a towel behind other people saying, "Oh, it's a wrap. Don't do that. It's over. Don't even ain't nothing to that." Mm, it's enough. But there was something he did feel. So let's look at it. Any questions? I'm sorry, I didn't even ask y'all if y'all had any questions. And maybe we've been those people who tell other people it's a wrap, it's over, don't bother. Sometimes it's other people in our ear talking about our situation, and sometimes we the people. We are the people. And so when they said this, Jesus just so happened to overhear it. Look at verse 36. Jesus just so happens to overhear it, what was said to the synagogue leader. And then Jesus hits him with, "Don't be afraid, only believe." Jesus telling him, "Don't be afraid," is an indication that he was afraid. Because you don't tell people not to be afraid if you don't think they already are afraid, right? And so, and because news like that will make you afraid. And news like that, he also told him, don't believe. I mean, he's told him to believe, continue to believe. Don't be afraid, just believe, just continue to believe. So there's two things going on. He's telling them, don't be afraid, don't be scared, because I know that that news can scare you. I know that news is scary, but here's the thing. I need you to keep believing, even when it doesn't look like it's going to happen, even when it looks like it's done, even when it looks like it's a loss, even when it looks like it's a wrap. Mm-hmm. What do you mean you want me to believe? Because if I lean to my own understanding, what you mean just believe? It's dead. That situation went from dying. I could believe when she was just dying, Jesus. But what about when she died? What about after death? How do I believe something that is dead? Hmm? You had me. I was with you when I seen that there was some hope. As long as she had breath in her body, there's some hope. But the breath then gone out the body. They get ready to call the funeral home. They get ready to call Wayne T. Lee to come to get the body. What am I supposed to do with that? What am I supposed to do when they already put my stuff on the curb? What am I supposed to do when they already done fired? What am I supposed to do when I don't got nothing else? When I don't have no money? When I can't pay it? What am I supposed to do when that bill, when the shut off notice then came and they coming to take to cut my electric? No, matter of fact, not coming to turn my electric off. They done turned the electric off. What am I supposed to do with that? You talking about don't be afraid, just believe. How do I believe that? Again, some of us were good at starting it. And then some of us were good at enduring the process by waiting. Again, Jairus was good at the start. He knew who to go to. He knew he knew who to go to. He knew what to ask for. He prayed about it. And then he's walking with Jesus towards in the right direction. But then when Jesus stopped, he still stays in the process. He still endured. He's standing there waiting his turn, standing there waiting his turn. Yes, he probably was still worried. He was probably worrying like, oh gosh, why would you stop? He's probably thinking all those things. But then when news came that it was a wrap, that it was over, Jesus has to tell him right after he overhears them saying this to him, don't be afraid, just believe. And that's what Jesus is saying, is saying to many of us this evening. Have we gotten in the process where we're looking at the situation and it looks like a wrap? Have we gotten to the point in the process where it looks it's dead? It is dead because again, trusting God doesn't mean be in denial. She's dead. But Jesus still says, but just believe. In other words, she's dead, but I ain't done yet. She's dead, but when I get in the mix, I am the one that can raise her from even that state. Your finances in debt, just believe. Your finances is dead, just believe. I can get in that situation, and if I put my hands on it, I can turn zero into zero, a whole bunch of zero ones with a whole bunch of zeros after that. Mhm. That job is there. I can put my Jesus can put his hands on it. And guess what? Not only would you get that job back, or he could put you in another job that's even greater than the one you had before. When he puts his hand on it. Just believe. Just believe. And so we see here in 36, when Jesus overheard what was said, he told the synagogue leader, don't be afraid, only believe. And then he did not let anyone accompany except Peter, James, John. And so he goes on to the house. He ends up raising the little girl up. But what if Jairus would have said, y'all right, I'm just going to go on about my business? He stayed through the entire process until what he prayed for was manifested, meaning that what he prayed for became what he had hoped for. We're talking about trusting God. Questions? Questions, questions, questions? Again, that leaning not to your own understanding, because sometimes when we lean to our own understanding of how we think things should go, sometimes we will miss God, because oftentimes he's doing the opposite of what we think. The opposite. Again, starting out, it looked good. That looked normal. But when he stopped, that didn't. To the point to where you allowed her to die. Mm-mm. All right, any questions? Well, that concludes our Bible study. Are we continuing to trusting? We're trusting the Lord. We're trusting God. Learning to trust God. Again, we started with Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6, where we kicked it off, where we have to trust God with what? Our whole heart. And then we're learning to not lean to our own understanding. And then the second week was what? Who was we trusting? Who was our example? Y'all don't remember? I know people on the online remember. Who was our case study last week? Did we forget it? Hmm? Last week. Last week. Or who's that? We're okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Okay. Well, we're learning to trust God through it all. So today, remember we trusted God with the example of Jehoshaphat. We're trusting God while under a threat. Remember?
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. You okay? Whew, okay. So we learned to trust God while we're under a threat. That's pressure. And then we're trusting God through a dire need. And sometimes you may not be going through something that we're talking about today, but at least this is something you can put in your archive, because it's up, wait your turn, because everybody has a turn at trials. Okay. All right. Well, that concludes our Bible study. I pray that everybody was blessed as I was blessed to teach it. Good. All right.